Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. So glad you guys are here um, on this kind of chaotic, interesting world that we're living in right now. But anyway, so the topic, as you all know, you're here to learn how to create Facebook groups, and this is training, basically trying to make it as specific to real estate agents as possible. And it's really important, you guys. I mean, you can have a huge influence in your farm area when you're able to do this and do this effectively. So anyway, I'm Dave Redabaugh. I am your official Cindy Bishop Worldwide Training Internet Marketing Coach. So here we go. I'm glad I got this baby created when I did and how I did it, but this is response to the current chaos that we are feeling right now, you guys, and why this topic that we're going to be covering is such a timely situation. I am absolutely convinced that real estate agents, if they're using their knowledge, this I should say, you doing these Facebook groups is an opportunity for you to use your knowledge and your expertise to be a conduit, to be a source of worthwhile information to your specific neighborhood community. And in most cases, it could very well likely be the community you live in, because that's the one that you know the best, right? So um, let's go ahead and move on to this then. I'm going to go ahead and cover what we are going to be talking about today. The first of all is we're going to talk about why to start a Facebook group, why that's an important thing to do. We're going to go through kind of a step-by-step situation of how to. We're going to talk about branding yourself as an expert. We also are going to talk about, and I'm sorry, I forgot to put this particular part of it in there, but I have a slide for it, is building it, how to actually build the group, how to build it up, and then some tips on engagement. Okay, so let's kind of walk through this real quickly then, and what we're going to be covering, or what we're going to do. First of all, is why start a group. This is really important, you guys, is to recognize what these Facebook groups are. Now, groups can be based on geography, they can be based on interest, they can be based on both of those situations, which I would say in most of your situations, that's probably an area you might want to take a look at as you delve into this thing. But really what Facebook groups are is groups being like-minded, where groups are brought together with like-minded people being together. Okay. By the way, some of you, if you see the where you can on the chat box, where you can actually raise your hand. If you would give me a quick raise your hand and let me know, or you can put in the chat box, yes. Have you seen the advertising that Facebook has been doing on Facebook groups recently? I'm sure a lot of you have. They had a Super Bowl ad, which they spent tons of money on. And literally, if you think about it, Facebook groups, it doesn't cost us anything to create these things. So Facebook's not generating income from it. But there should be a clue for us, for a company that's as big and as powerful right now as they are. Why would they be investing in advertising Facebook groups? And that's really probably one of the, I don't necessarily know the answer to that, you guys, but I tell you, the question should make us all very, very curious, and probably encouraged and inspired to go ahead and get this done. You know what I'm saying? So the second thing is to recognize that it's a place where you can build connections with the sphere of influence that you have already. And in some cases, you might want to be building on that as well. But what it does is it helps. This really does lead to better and more relationships and opportunities that may not come immediately, especially with what we're dealing with right now, you guys, but certainly in the future. Okay, so, and that's really what this is all about, is this is kind of marketing right now, taking the time to get this thing set up. And I'm guessing with the way things are right now, that most of you probably have, like most of us, a little more time on your hands. So maybe this is the right time to really be focusing in and getting something like this set up and done properly, and building it the way that you can. I know sometimes that's always an issue with real estate agents, with some of the things that I talk about in building a social strategy and doing your marketing properly, is that you really don't have time. You're trying to figure out how to market in in the process of trying to do real estating. Well, you know, it's a little bit harder to do the real estating part of it right now. So with this extra time, let's take a look at some ways that you can do this. So anyway, the next one is you have a lot more influence in a group than you do from your Facebook business page. Okay. You'll see what I'm talking about as we go through this, but I think that's a really, really key factor, is to recognize that your business page, you can have influence and you could build it up and you can create an audience, but believe me, you can have a lot more influence and a lot more marketing strength from a group than you really can from a business page. So let's kind of delve into the next step then, and that is how to start the group. Okay. And first, and this is a really, really important part of it, you guys, and this is the stuff that you do with, you don't go on Facebook to do this part right here. This is the part you're doing with a piece of paper and a pen. Okay, you're taking, or you know, you're doing it with a document, a Word document online, or on your, you know, Microsoft Word. But the bottom line is this is where the thinking happens. This is where the strategizing and your mental preparation takes place. And that really is defining the purpose of what your group is all about. What are they going to be about? Now, my suggestion is to always try to attach it to, and you don't have to, you can have more than one Facebook group, but at least have one that is a farm area that you are really focusing your real estate business on. Okay. And a lot of you, I know that most of the agents that I talk to, a lot of them, the geographic area that they have the most interest in developing a farm around is where they live, you know, and it really does make sense. So, but anyway, here's a few ideas to get started as far as thinking through where you're going to resource some of these things. And that is, number one is local coronavirus updates. You know, taking a look, where can I get the best information that lets me know what's happening on a local basis? Some of you, and I'll just throw this out to you. This is not in the notes, but this is something you need to take a note on. And some of you might be familiar with Patch, P-A-T-C-H. Cindy, if you wouldn't mind putting that in the, you know what, I'll do it. Right here, Patch. I want to make sure that you guys have it in the chat box. Patch is an online newspaper. Basically, it's local newspapers. You can go in, get onto Patch, and I think it's just patch.com, but basically you go in and you subscribe, and you can become part of these neighborhood areas. So like I have subscriptions to a couple of them. I have one for Fairfax, I have one for Manassas. So, but what it does is it gives you local news. And one of the things that I saw yesterday on Patch basically is it talked about, and it was a notification from the coronavirus that talked about in the Manassas, in the Prince William County schools, which school districts, elementary school districts had coronavirus cases. So, you know, that kind of local information isn't always readily available. So you want to make sure that you're attached to those places where you can find that information. So anyway, think about ways that you could get updates to what's going on with us. And who knows how long this is going to last, but this is a really good time to make sure that we're keeping up to date, and for you to be the one that's providing that information to your local area, your local neighborhood. The next one is to think about, you know, creating a group around local restaurant / entertainment culture. What's the culture of that area that you live in? Okay. A next one would be things like outdoor activities that are available by age group. You know, what's available for seniors, what for outdoor activities, what's available for children, families with children, those kinds of things. You know, think about those dynamics and what's available for the people in your particular area. And the next one is to think through things like local charities and causes, things that you're interested in and passionate about, you know. So, all right. Next part. This is kind of more the step-by-step part of it, you guys. So the first part is you log into your Facebook account. Okay, so this is going to get created, right? You know, you go into your Facebook account, it's your personal account, and what you'll see at the very top menu, you have that little picture with your name and your picture and your name, and then it says home, and then it's got this little menu up in the top bar. What you want to do is go to, there's a button that's just called create. Okay, and this is real easy. You hit create, drop down, and you select group. Okay, real simple, that part of it. Then what happens is this um, image that I have on this slide where it says create new group, that's the next piece that comes up after you select groups. So now it says, okay, we're going to help you create this group. First thing you have to do is name it. Okay, here's a clue, some ways to think about how to name it. Is SEO friendly? You know, in other words, what's the group about? Where is it about? Okay, what neighborhood is it involved with? What interest does it have? Okay, and I just gave a quick little example: Fairfax movie buffs, you know, something like that. You know, but basically, you want to think about what we talked about, the purpose, and really something you're passionate about, things that you're interested in, and attach that to the neighborhood market and create the name around that. That way it becomes easy enough for people to find. Because one of the things that hopefully you guys all know this is that when you do a search on Facebook, you can search specifically for groups. So you can look through and you know, you type in, you know, the name of a community, and that's what that's what it's going to give you, is that, and then you search under groups and it will give you any communities that are involved with that. Which, by the way, let me make this suggestion to you. That's probably one of the first things that you should do as far as your preparation, is to go in and search in the areas that you want to focus your attention on, those neighborhoods, and see what else is there. Is there anybody else that's doing a group? Is it a group that has much meaning to it, or much size to it, or does it look like it's a very active group? You know, so in other words, don't be intimidated or run off just because you found out that, oh, okay, there's already a group for Burke, for instance. You know, maybe it's not that active. Maybe it's not really the area that you want to focus in on in Burke, you know, or it's you kind of take a look at what's going on with the group. Now, the other thing then is one of the things that Facebook says on here, and you can see that you name it. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to add some people. This is a really, really important step. Okay, think through those people in that market area that you've already been a real estate agent for. You've already been the person that's helped them find their home or sell their home or those types of things. So you want to be able to neighbors that know you, that appreciate you, that respect you, that know that you're a real estate agent. So you want to kind of focus in on who are the people that are most likely going to be advocates for you, that are going to be supportive of what you're doing, and possibly, and we'll get into this a little bit later, possibly even contributors. People who might make a contribution to this, that would submit articles, submit information, that you know are engaged in certain areas that would be of interest to the group, and have them, you know, have them be guest contributors. You know, that some people just find that to be a lot of fun, to be able to share good information with people. So be thinking in terms of who's going to be the best people to add to this group. Who do I want to have? Size is not necessarily the most important part of it, you guys. Let me see this real quickly here. A question there was from the personal or the business account. This is all done when you log into Facebook, you guys, you always will log in immediately into your personal account. So this is being created from your personal account. In fact, and I think probably most of you know this, you can't have a business account unless you have a personal account. So in other words, when we talk about your Facebook account, we're talking about your personal account. Business is not really an account, it's a page. Same thing with this. This is a group. It's a group page. It's not necessarily a group account. So, but anyway, hopefully that clears that up. So yeah, it is. It's from, you're going in, signing in, personal account, and then you're creating it from there. But anyway, going back to this then, so adding the people. So that, you know, again, think about in terms of advocates. The other thing to consider is think in terms of other business people that would be advocates, that would be referral partners, that would be good contributors, you know, but think about in terms of that. Okay. So let's move on with this. The next thing that you want to do is you want to describe your group. So once you've done this part, actually, I should say, um, the button there says a private group. You want to do, there's a private group, but there's also one called a closed group. And that's what you want to be able to have, is a group that's closed. Okay. Here's the reason I say that. A closed group means that you have to, and anybody that you would assign as an admin to the group, an administrator, you have you decide who gets to be part of the group. So if all of a sudden you've created this group and most of the people that are wanting to jump in on the group are real estate agents, then you have the right to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Because you don't necessarily want a Facebook neighborhood group that's full of a bunch of real estate agents. So a few, probably not bad. Some of them probably ones you would invite, but I think that all makes sense. The next thing is, again, the description, and this is going back to this part of it, you guys, being savvy about the way that you describe it. You want to really be thinking in terms of keywords that would be associated with it that would make it easy for people to find it, okay? Second of all, you want to make sure that it's a description that gives people an idea of what they can expect when they're part of that group, so that way you're attracting the right kinds of people. Okay. One of the things that I've really become a huge advocate of when it comes to marketing is to really get away from trying to attract everybody. I'm not trying to attract everybody. I'm trying to attract the people that probably are going to be most attracted to what it is that I'm offering. Okay, so kind of focus it, fine tune it. Most of you are familiar with what they call the Pareto principle, and that's the 80-20 rule. Well, this says, you're going to get 80% of your business, for instance, from 20% of your clientele or 20% of your database. Even more than that, you guys, is it's the 20% of the 20%. So it really is. It's more like about 4%. 4% are become the most important ones. So using that in terms of what I'm saying with this description, you're basically going to describe it so that it kind of really puts some fence around that group. It really says, these are the people I want to be part of this, the kinds of people, the interests, the things that they like, and those that don't and aren't, it's okay. It's okay if you're not part of it. We don't necessarily, not gonna be something you're gonna enjoy or want to be part of. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, but that really is a key part, you guys, is making sure you take some time to give a good description of what your group is about, and that way when people are doing a search for it and they find it, they're going to go, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Or the ones that you don't want are going to go, nah, not interested. Okay, all right, move on. Decide on the settings. Okay, I talked about this earlier and talked about one of the things that you want to look at is Facebook then gives you, and I don't want to go into all the details on that, you guys, but decide on settings, and there's a number of different settings that you can put in there. And it really is, once you've gotten past this screen that I have up here, you're going to see that there's different things decisions that you need to make about your group. I didn't want to go into all those details. But I certainly will if any of you guys decide that you want my help to go ahead and set one up. But anyway, moving on. So you need to make some decisions about those settings. The second thing is you want to make sure that you've taken some time to think through, and this is another one of those you want to do probably ahead of time. What are some rules for sharing? Okay, what would be some guidelines? And one of the things that for groups that I've helped other people set up, one of the things that I've done is I did a search online, just did a Google search for rules for Facebook group sharing. And you can see examples. You can see ones that people have put together, and it'll direct you to Facebook groups where you can actually look at those open groups where you can actually look at the rules for sharing. And you want to make sure you establish some rules. Now, an important part is if you are setting up some rules on what you will allow and what you won't, like for instance, to make sure that those people that are involved with businesses aren't using it as a place to advertise their business. You really don't want to get into that. So if you establish some guidelines for what's acceptable, then you need to make sure that you follow through and not only follow those rules yourself, but also make sure that you warn the people, caution the people that are, or, make sure you discipline the people that have broken those rules. You want, if there's the rules have been broken, you want to make sure that you respond to that and do it quickly. You don't want to, you want to maintain the management of this thing and do it properly. Okay. So, all right. The next thing then, and this is just a real simple one, is you create a cover and profile images. Most of you are familiar with, and if you're not, I'll go ahead and put it in, but a awesome online design platform that both Cindy and I use. In fact, this presentation you guys are looking at now is something that I designed in canva.com. So, and canva.com has you can go in there and create a Facebook cover or a Facebook profile image that's exactly sized the way that you need to. And oh, whoops, sorry, Cindy, I sent that just to you. I didn't send it to everybody. Sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this real quickly, you guys. So anyway, what I get for trying to do two things at once, right? So going back to this though, canva.com is really a great place to be able to design those pieces that you need. So find something that's going to be attractive, but more importantly, that you use it as a way to identify, this is what we're about, this is what you can expect, those types of things, you guys. So that's really important. All right. How to build a group. The first thing that you want to be doing with this is you want to be focusing on your local farm area. Okay, so it's easier to dominate a local area when the members who are joining are part of that local area. Okay, and hopefully that makes sense. I'm sure it does. The bottom line is that anyone who joins your group is most likely going to be a local resident. So it's much easier to be dominating a local area like that when you are developing relationships and building this platform for people that are involved in that community to be part of it and to be part of engaging with it. Okay, so next thing is to claim your niche. Okay. It's unlikely that you're going to be the first agent to launch a Facebook group for your community. That's the reality of it. There's certainly more than one in a lot of these different communities, and you guys will find that when you do a search on Facebook for those local groups. So you want to recognize that fact, and you want to make sure that you are claiming your niche, making sure that you're identifying those things that are going to set you apart, to distinguish you and your group and what you're going to be about from any of the other ones that are out there. Okay. So next part, assemble a team of contributors. I kind of mentioned that earlier. Some of those are going to be neighbors, friends, allies, people that you have who trust you, respect you. Some of them are going to be your clients, former clients, that type of thing. Again, those are going to be some of the best ones to engage with immediately, even if they don't live right in that group. As long as they're relatively close to it and can make a contribution that's beneficial, it doesn't hurt to make them part of the group. Okay. And especially if they're familiar with the group. For instance, if you help somebody sell a home from that area and they move to a neighboring community or not too far away, make them part of the group because they're familiar with that area. They know what they liked about it, and what they didn't like, that kind of thing. So, and the other thing, like I mentioned earlier, is making sure that you're part of these contributors are going to be business people who that and these don't necessarily have to be the ones that are in the group, even though if it is a local business, a restaurant, a coffee shop, a physician, a dentist, those types of things, that you want to make sure that in any of those types of people that have storefronts that you have that are make sure that you are getting those people involved and letting them know what this group is all about. Okay. But the other one is maybe it's an HVAC contractor or a plumbing contractor or pest control. A lot of those are ones that you're associated with anyway because of being in the real estate business. So with those folks, then you want to make sure that they don't necessarily have to live in that community, but you want to make sure that the community that you represent is one that they they want to be part of. It's an area that's important to their business. Okay, so and ask them to be a contributor. Again, they can provide some really good information. Make sure that you hold their feet to the fire, though, when it comes to any rules that you would have on not making this an advertising platform. It's okay for someone to mention their business from time to time, but you don't want it to be the only thing that they share, or doing it all the time or consistently, that kind of thing. You want to limit that. All right. Next then is, because of what we just talked about, having this group of contributors, not a bad idea to keep a Google Drive folder where they can share stuff. Okay, for instance, some of them may not have time to sit there and go on Facebook and put together whatever they're going to do as far as sharing, but they can send you something in a Google Drive. They can send you a photograph or a video, or they can send you and put it on the Google Drive, so that way anybody that's part of that contributor team can have access to it. Hopefully that's all making sense, you guys. I'm sure it is. Okay, so far so good. So let's move on. The next part then is really branding yourself in that area as the neighborhood expert. Okay, one of the things to consider, and this is where we go back to your personal profile. When people recognize the fact that, oh, okay, well, it was Dave Redabaugh that created this group. One of the first things that I would do if I found out the name of the contributor, which you want to make sure that's very obvious, and it will be. Facebook kind of says you need to tell them who you are, but they're going to look at me. They're going to look at my profile. They're going to see, what's he about? What's, that type of thing. So make sure that you filled out your personal profile completely, and make sure it's obvious to people that they know that you are a real estate agent, that's what you do. It's not going to scare people off. It probably in most cases, and I think for me, it's good to know that a real estate agent is the one that's engaged in this type of group building, because you guys have an expertise that most of us don't have. I'm not a real estate agent. I never have been. And the bottom line is, you guys, is that I have an incredible amount of respect for the things that the expertise that you have when it comes to local market area stuff. These things better than anybody else does, because that's what you do. That's what you have to do to be effective. So make sure that on your personal profile, it's very clear that you are a real estate agent. The next thing, be helpful and provide value. If people have questions, you put a post up, you put some information up, and someone asks questions, heaven forbid that you don't respond to that question. So this is something you want to be active in. In fact, it's possible you may want to set up notifications for yourself so you're able to do that. All right. But it is really important to make sure that you are responding and engaging with people. And I'm not saying just answer questions, but you also want to think, am I providing good information? If someone's made a comment, you want to make sure that you're able to be a contributor to that. You don't have to comment on every comment, but you do want to make sure that you're engaged with the activity on that group. The more engaged you are, the more people will continue to engage and recognize this is a really good place to be. Okay, and I will tell you a really good example of one, and this is not a neighborhood type situation, but I had a lady that I'm working with right now. She's a medical practitioner who is going to be taking her business online. And one of the things that I suggested to her, and I helped her get this whole thing set up, was to create a Facebook group around what she proposes. And she's kind of a holistic. She is an MD, but she's a holistic doctor. Anyway, I'm not trying to sell her. I just want to tell you the results that she's had. Literally, she started this group. It's been about maybe 4 months ago, and she already has 900 people that are part of this group, and they're engaged, and they're posting stuff up, and they're providing good information. And it literally is a group that's based on the interest of health. Okay, so anyway, it can be done, guys, and you want to make sure that you're taking the opportunity. Now, the other thing that I will back up for just a moment and tell you that size in a group isn't the important part. The important part, in other words, it doesn't have to be a huge number of people that are in the group. The important part is that you have the right ones, the ones that are going to be engaging, that are going to be contributing, that are going to be, enjoying each other, enjoying the relationship that they're able to develop in that kind of situation. And these days of, social distancing, this is a really good way to stay engaged with your neighborhood. I mean, it's awesome. So it really is, you guys, in light of what we're doing. And honestly, I think this social distancing thing, even if it's over in the next 10 days, guess what? I don't think it's going to change too much about the way that we engage with each other. It's certainly, we'll go back to maybe shaking hands, but maybe not. The bottom line is I think we're going to maintain some of that, just out of, a healthy respect for our health. But anyway, enough said about that. Let's move on. Build a list of reputable vendors. Again, I'm hitting on this point, you guys, but this is really important. Keep it on hand. All right. So whenever someone asks for a referral, private message them and offer to send it to them via email. Here's what I mean by that. Let's just kind of walk through the scenario. One of the things that I've found in these neighborhood groups, and I'm part of a couple of them, is that there's a lot of engagement where people are, because it's neighborhood, and a lot of times people feel a little more comfortable when they are, when they're looking for a plumber, or they're looking for an automobile repair person, or they're looking for a doctor, dentist, all of those professionals that we need to work with consistently, that they sometimes feel better about local, for some reason, and somebody that is trustworthy. And the bottom line is if you've got a good list of reputable vendors, you have it on hand. When someone says in that group, that neighborhood group, and that's what I've seen, a lot of engagement are things like, hey, who do you know that can help me with this? That you have that list ready at hand. Hey, here it is. Here's, you're looking for somebody that can, put a new carpet in or whatever it is. Here's somebody that I know. But what you want to do, though, is you can engage that in the group, but you've lost the opportunity to make the connection with the person that asked the question. What if, for instance, the reason that they want to get a new carpet in is because, they realize, oh man, this carpet's really old, and the only way we're going to be able to sell this house is if we get a new carpet. All right. So if you just post that in the group, not completely, but you've lost some of the value of making that connection. What you want to do when someone makes a request like that in these groups is you want to send them a message. Say, look, I've got a really good referral, but I don't want to just make it public. If you would private message me, and then I'll send it to you via email. Okay. So what that means is they private message you. Now you have this private message connection, and then they need to give you an email address that you can send it to. Now that person who knows why they wanted a new carpet, I'm just using that as an example, but now they're part of your database. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. I know this is hard to get feedback from you guys, but I'm sure that does. So anyway, the next part then is build your business sphere of influence, to refer business to each other. And that's the other part too, is to recognize that when you're doing that part with the carpet guy, that carpet guy knows that you are also the best real estate agent for them to recommend. So when they go in and they're laying the carpet, they're saying, hey, by the way, are you guys selling your house? Yeah, we are. Hey, I got somebody that can really help you with it. I'm kind of walking through the whole scenario with the story, but that's really what we're talking about here. The next part then is some tips for engagement and posting. I'm just going to run through these. These are really important though. First of all, don't just post your listings in open houses. It's okay to do that from time to time, but if you wear this out, you guys, you will lose the group quick. Okay. So don't make this a place for you to sell all the time. Okay. The next one is diversify the type of content that you post. For instance, things like pictures, articles, video, live streaming, those types of things. Make sure that you're diversified in the kind of information that you're putting out there. You don't want to just always attach articles, or you don't always want to have, a video, that kind of thing. You want to make sure that you're putting lots of different types of information out there to your group, so that they're seeing, oh, okay, this is a creative group, and we want to make sure that we've got lots of different things that we can have access to. Because we're used to seeing that now. We're used to seeing lots of different types of information coming at us in many different forms on the internet, right? Next one then, share personal stories of local residents. So people that you know in the area, things that have happened. It's really important to be able to do that. Another one, share personal stories of local business owners. Going back to this, those recommendations that you can have. This is a really good way to do that. Do an interview with one of them and post that. Make that one of the things that you post on there. Is an interview with a local plumber, or a local dentist, or whatever it is. But think through businesses that people would have an interest in learning more about, and just do a video interview with them, and post it. Post video of interviews with locals. Okay, again, going back just what I was just talking about. Host Facebook live events. If you can do this weekly, you guys, that really makes the engagement that you get going on in these groups really powerful. I will tell you, this physician that I told you about earlier, that really has been the key to her success, is that she puts in a number of Facebook live events. And if she's not, she's at least posting video that she created, put on YouTube, and then she's putting that in there, so that it is stuff where people are constantly getting a chance to see her, hear from her, hear her voice, hear her expertise and her knowledge, that kind of thing. And again, they're not sales things. They're really just her talking about things that the group is interested in anyway. And that's really the main focus of what you want to be doing with this. Next part, create and post fun surveys focused on the community. What would be some fun things that you could be asking people about? What's your favorite park? Here's the list of some of the parks in the area. Which one is your favorite? That kind of thing. Make sure you weigh in. Make sure that your opinion is brought forth. Sometimes the best engagement is somebody who disagrees with you. You can get some good conversation going with people. But anyway, that's a really fun way to do this, you guys, is to think through some surveys that you can have focused on the community. The next one is comment and engage with others on Facebook regularly. So the bottom line is, you guys, is once you're in there, you're going to start developing relationships. You're going to find that you're going to have requests from those people in those that neighborhood, in that group that you've developed. You're going to start having requests for them to be your friend on your personal account. I would say with any friend request, I always kind of take a look at it. What's the association? But I would say if they're part of that group and they've joined your group, that's kind of an easy one. I'd make sure you be a friend, okay? You may have just found another ally, another contributor, and Next, so let's move on. And this is a really important part, you guys. This is my Reba Rule for social sharing. And it really is 3 different things to think about when you're sharing stuff. And I shouldn't claim these as my rule. I just like them because I use it probably every presentation that I give on social media. And that is, you want to have 3 different things to think about when you share something. Does it inspire people? Does it educate them? Or does it entertain them? And if you could get all 3 in one post, you got a winner. You got something that might go viral. Anyway, that's it. Thank you guys for showing up today. I really appreciate it. Let me go ahead and open this to any questions that you might have. And looking forward to hearing from any of you that may want some help in putting one of these together. This is a fun thing, you guys. I'm telling you, it's such a great thing to do. Good. So Cindy's asking, does anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and weigh in on the chat box. But again, I appreciate each one of you being here. I really do. So let's see. I'm going to see real quickly who all is here. Gwen and Kelly and Diana and Ann, Mike. This is awesome, you guys. Thank you for being here, all of you. Good. Thank you, Maggie. Gwen, how do we get help putting one together? That one, Gwen, I will let Cindy answer that question for you. Do you want to jump on real quick, Cindy?
There I am. I'm so busy typing. Hey, everybody. Okay, so here's how it's going to work. After we render the video, and I'm going to do a little begging of Dave to send me the slides as well so that you have those as kind of a note-taking device. So I'll send it all out to you guys that were on the call today. I will also send you the private sessions are one flat fee. And they're very reasonable. And what will happen is you're going to get like not only a little special offer since you were on the video on the webinar today, but then whoever, the way it works is you pay for it. I send you all the instructions, you pay for it. A notice comes to me and we schedule it in the exact order that people pay for them. And Dave will help you privately. Now, I don't think he's going to come over to your house and sit next to you in this Jeremy environment, but obviously just like we're on this webinar, he can pretty much do everything just like this, whether it be Zoom or Join Me. We have all kinds of platforms. So that's pretty much it. I highly recommend it. I get so much more done doing those private sessions, and I myself have to do them too, to learn how to do something so that we can implement it into the school and the business building platform. And Dave knows that because he's the one that helps me most of the time. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, oh, and by the way, to render the video, may be done by the end of the day. As soon as I get it, I'll get all this ready and send it out to you. So you won't have, if you have any questions, just ask me. Does anybody have any questions for the chat room? If you do, type. No, I don't think so. Dave, you did a great job.
We're good. Awesome. All right.
Excellent.
Again,
Okay.
we really appreciate you guys being here. Go build a group.
I know I am. Everybody, boy, hopefully you'll jump on our group. So, all right, take care. Oh, somebody did. One of their classes offered. Yeah, Linda, all of our classes, I post everything. So if you go to cindybishopworldwide.com and then you go to upcoming events, a webinar like this is going to be under webinars. There's these buttons that drop down on upcoming events. This is a webinar. We have coaching call webinars that are a little different. They're really geared for our coaching members, but a lot of times people want to jump on those as well. And so that's where you're going to see a lot of stuff right now. And I'll pretty much utilize that for the advertisement. Plus I'll send out ads, but I myself, you get tired of getting them, I get tired of sending them. I prefer you just go look there and see what's coming up. Like we've got a financial one on Thursday called Legacy Protection. So, there's some of them are free, some of them are $5. The coaching ones are the most because they're really close to our private coaching members. And just email me. You can always email me. Anybody that does that knows that I'm a lunatic about my email returns. I mean, if I'm not answering it and it's been 2 days, I'm dead. Basically, I mean, literally, I'm crazy. I even before I go to bed at night, I check my emails. So probably not the best practice, but it makes me feel good. So anyway, it really does.
Yep. That's great.
All right, guys. Well, you take care. You're very welcome for all of you that said thank you. And again, you'll be hearing from me later as soon as I get the link with the rendered the video for today. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. Take care.